Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in full support of this resolution here before this Parliament on the report of the National Vending Committee. This week has been a phenomenal week for this country, sir. This week stands as one in which every Barbadian, citizen by birth, descent, marriage, naturalization, should be proud, extremely proud of what has developed in terms of our country and our people. We of course transitioned after 55 years of independence, political independence, into republic status, sir. It is said that sometimes you have to wait long for good things to come about. I've said before that, in my opinion, we are over 2 decades too late, but it has come about finally, sir. And, I couldn't feel prouder as a parliamentarian giving a new oath as I did on Tuesday. So I've said on previous occasions that giving an oath of allegiance to the Queen, her successors and heirs, quite frankly, has been perhaps the most hypocritical action I've ever had to take in my political life. But of course, I could not come into this Parliament unless I swore that oath. I've been in contact, sir, up to this morning with my colleagues in Jamaica who I would have gone to law faculty with. 40 years ago now, sir, as a student. And, they are essentially calling on their government as their former Prime Minister, the Honourable, the Most Honourable P.J. Patterson has written to both the present Prime Minister and the present Leader of the Opposition in Jamaica, calling on Jamaica to take the step to Republican status next year, which will be their 60th year of anniversary. St. Lucia, sir, the former Prime Minister, still Member of Parliament, Dr. Kenny Anthony, who would have been in law faculty with me, sir, and of course I used to tutor in the Faculty of Law when he was head of the law faculty, teaching department. He as well has called on the present government, of which he is a part, to try and take St. Lucia into the Republican status. What we did this week, sir, will hopefully be the impetus for the remaining 7 CARICOM states which are still under the British monarchy as head of state to move towards Republican status, sir. And what we're doing today, sir, in terms of effectively giving passage to the National Vending Bill is part of the whole thrust of a Republican status, of creating or continuing to further the creation of a just and equitable society for all in this country. It is a revolutionary act, sir, as is the custom for Barbados Labour Party governments, whether it was the Right to Vote Act, the Voting Rights Act in 1950, whether it was Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act, 1981, early 1980s. This act, sir, is also revolutionary. And, sir, we, the majority people in this country, black people, 95% of the population in this country, sir, before we were yoked by the British colonial power in the early 1600s for the passage of over 200 years until the slave trade was abolished in 1807, we were our ancestors were primary vendors. One of the most established vending societies in the world is in Ghana, West Africa, sir. Accra and other other cities in Ghana and other parts of Ghana. We were natural vendors. We were transported here to the Caribbean from Africa in a middle passage in what represented the most inhuman and most criminal act of man against man in the history of this world. And as we know, sir, part of the subjugation of our people was the decriminalization of vending, something which we had been accustomed to be doing in the country where we originated from, in the continent where we originated from. And I have to as well, sir, give commendation to Sir Hilary Beku, sir. His name, sir, I believe has been called today many times, and I believe he would be in the report as well, his name, for increasing the awareness of the public of Barbados. I think from over 2 decades ago, sir, maybe as much as 3, as to the effect of the criminalization of vending on the psyche, on the socio-economic development of our people, sir. That in 1695, after this parliament, sir, or the then Parliament of Barbados passed, in fact, the first slave code in the world in 1661, this Parliament of Barbados started to criminalize vending, sir. And you know, sir, I must say this, you know, some people in this country boast about how we have the 3rd oldest parliament in Barbados, in the Commonwealth, and in the late 1980s, 1980s, I think it was, this parliament passed resolution celebrating the 300th anniversary or 350th anniversary, I think it was, of the Parliament of Barbados. At the time, I felt that was a farce, that was an insult, because that was only a parliament in name, because a parliament, as this parliament is doing, sir, and as this parliament under Barbados Labour Party administrations has continuously done, is supposed to do good by the people, supposed to advance the socio-economic and psychological development of the people of Barbados. Those parliaments never did that. So from 1695, we see the criminalization of vending, sir, to continue and to perpetuate the subjugation and dehumanization of black people, right through, sir, to the last century. And this is a proud moment where this parliament is decriminalizing vending and putting in place administrative penalties, I think of a maximum of $500 for breaching any regulations or conditions which will be stipulated in the National Vending Act. This is part of the development of our people. This act will facilitate a new entrepreneurial development of our people. It will enfranchise our people economically, empower ordinary Barbadians, because so many of our people depend on self-employment, on vending, to sustain their families, to sustain themselves, as has been said. And I believe each and every member of this parliament could speak to a relative in the past who has been involved in vending, sir. In my case, it was my aunt, my father's sister, who was, as we describe them, a hawker in Cheapside Market. So I remember going to her many times after school on my way home by bus, and she giving me some nuts. She lived in Barbary Hill, now departed. And so I have a personal connection with what is happening here today. I am particularly pleased about the creation of the vending zones, as other members have said, that novel initiative. And the whole issue here, sir, is to facilitate the establishment of vending in this country. I mean, we know, sir, the obstacles that would have been put in place against our people to get vending licenses, the bureaucratic system that they had. I was chairman, of course, of the National Conservation Commission, a quarter century ago, sir, and you used to have members of parliament writing me. They were like a license for XY of X address in their constituency, sir, and you pass it on to the management of NCC, and you wait a whole month or more before you get a response. I myself too, sir, of course, then when I became a member of parliament, you're writing NCC for license for constituents, since of course I am the parliamentary representative of a coastal constituency, and you may or may not get awarded the license on behalf of your constituent. So there was politics involved, no doubt, in the issuance of these licenses. This act, of which we are debating the resolution today, seeks to remove the politics involved in this whole process, sir. And where you are given a license on merit, the only restriction being if there is no space within the vending zone full already, and in which case the act speaks about, or the bill speaks about, seeking a different area with your consent where you can go and vend. This is tremendous, sir. And in an age where, of course, we have sustained higher unemployment ratios than we had hoped for because of the last 21 months of COVID, where our unemployment rate right now is about 17% after we had it down to below 10%, sir. It is critical that we create the opportunity for our constituents to be able to earn a decent living, to try to come out of the cycle and the generational poverty which they have experienced to a large extent, sir, because of the setup of our legislation under colonial parliament, sir, and to try to come out of a cycle where some persons, and I'm not giving it any excuse for them, feel that they have to get into criminal activity. And, sir, the provision is also made for the first time legislatively for itinerant vending. This is important, sir, because of a lot of our people are itinerant vendors, moving from place to place, selling food, selling items, sir. Provision is made in the act for that. And this represents a tremendous opportunity for our people. Sir, today, in fact, is the World Day for Persons with Disabilities. And there are many people over the years in this country who have had some form of disability, who have been vendors, sir. Whether immobility issues, whether hearing impairment, sir. And this, what we're doing today, represents an opportunity for them to better their standard of living. I think the theme for today, World Disabilities Day, sir, includes leadership, and it speaks towards inclusiveness, of people with disabilities in a post-COVID society. We have heard the word mentioned today, I think firstly by the Honourable Minister who presented, who opened this debate, who has to be commended for his enterprise and the drive in which he has led this process. Following on, of course, from the Honourable Member for St. George North, who would have started this process. We heard him speak on the issue of affirmative action, which is required. St. George South, who would have started the process. And we heard the Honourable Member for St. James Central today speak of the need for affirmative action and what the whole policy construct of this piece of legislation is seeking to do, sir. And of course, this Parliament has the opportunity, as it has been doing, to bring affirmative action for people with disabilities, not only with this bill, but in the creation of a separate piece of disabilities legislation, because that is the only way people who are the most vulnerable in this country can really and truly get a leg up and be given and be part of the just and equal society that we are seeking to create. The issue, sir, of the link between vending and other aspects of our economy and society has been mentioned and spoken to today, and I want to associate myself with those sentiments, because vending now creates a greater opportunity for the development of culture, for our tourism, for our agriculture, sir. All of this is interlinked. Sir, we speak towards appeals against ministerial decisions and decisions of the tribunal which is created under or which will be created under this piece of legislation. Very important, sir. We have Administrative Justice Act, and an individual who feels that they are aggrieved by ministerial or bureaucratic decision must have an opportunity to appeal, and you have the right to appeal up to a judge in chambers, sir. And this, of course, certainly gives the perception to the public that they have a right, if they feel unfair by those in authority, to seek justice if they feel that the decision is wrong, to a judge, sir, an independent, of course, non-political entity being the judiciary. So what is also tremendously visionary is the expungement of records under Clause 36 of the bill. The fact that the records from henceforth, when this bill is enacted into the law, that persons who were convicted previously under the previous act for offenses relating to vending, that their criminal record would be expunged, sir. Sir, I don't believe I'll telling tales out of cabinet, but I feel proud that I believe when I was in cabinet, I was the person who first initiated that concept, sir, as well, in terms of if and when this Parliament legalizes or decriminalizes marijuana for personal use as well, sir. It is within that context to expunge the records of persons who would have been convicted previously. And this is very important, sir, in a country such as ours, where 85% of the jobs rely on a clean, quote-unquote, police certificate of character to be able to get you a job. So offenses or convictions, such as convictions for vending, for just trying your best to earn a livelihood for yourself and your children and your family, your mother, your father, were put on a criminal record to go with you for the rest of your life, to prevent you from getting a job within the mainstream if you applied for that in the future, to prevent you from getting a visa, for example, to go to the United States of America to see your brother or your mother or your child up there, sir. This is part of what this government is trying to do, and which it must do, because we owe our people this kind of situation. I mean, we have situations where the Royal Barbados Police Force, and it has been mentioned in here earlier today, that we're happy that the word royal has been removed, of course, and forced, because our entities, such as the police, have to be of service to our people. Our institutions, such as the judiciary, the magistracy, that used to impose criminal penalties and jail sentences on people for vending, has to understand that in 2021, going forward, they have to be instruments of justice and fairness to people, sir, and not to penalize people. And I look forward to, of course, the issue of traffic offenses as well being decriminalized, and administrative penalties coming in there for breach of traffic offenses. And the Honourable Member for St. Michael's South Central, when she spoke earlier this evening, spoke about the need to create a system whereby these administrative penalties are payable online. Very important, sir, in terms of what we're trying to do. And I look forward to the day when not only any administrative penalties under this act would be payable online, there will be that facility, but also traffic offense administrative penalties as well. We have, sir, that this act will come into force on a date to be fixed by proclamation. Sir, I don't know if the Honourable Minister would have spoken in terms of when he is reasonably expecting that this bill would come into force and become part of our law, or if he would say that in his wrap-up. But certainly, sir, I could not end my presentation without giving a plug for vending zones in my constituency, sir. We have many areas in St. James North where vending zones could be created. As I said, of course, as we all know, St. James North is a coastal constituency, sir. We have area, and we need vending zones both down bottom on the coast and up above in Sion Hill area, Rottdunda, the Waymaston Hall, sir. I would have written the Honourable Minister of Housing about 3 months ago on the issue of the old fire station at Weston, which the last government unceremoniously and unwisely closed down in May 2017. There has been no use for this building after 3.5 years. We need to do something to make use of this building for the benefit of the people. One of the defects in government, and when I say government now, government by both political parties, as I think all of us recognize, is that we have let government buildings which are now owned by the state as opposed by the crown, fall in disrepair. And we have the opportunity to do something with the old fire station at Weston. I wrote the Honourable Housing Minister, who is Minister for Maintenance too, about utilizing some of this building for commercial purposes, vending purposes, for the benefit of the constituents and for the people, so they can make a dollar, sir. I haven't got a response yet I really look forward and urge that response. Some of the building as well could be used to advance skill acquisition by the people of my constituency, because that is another issue, sir. We have too many young people in this country without the requisite skills to be able to sustain themselves in either employment or self-employment. So I look forward to some decision taken by the Ministry of Housing, by the Cabinet of Barbados, for that old fire station building and for the creation of vending zones in the constituency of St. James North. But I am in fully support of this bill, sir, of this resolution rather. Look forward to the enactment of the legislation as part of another platform, another construct by this Barbados Labour Party government to create an inclusive society in this country, a society where everybody could actively participate in the economy of this country, no matter what circumstances of birth they may have had, and where everyone has the opportunity to fulfill their talents and their ambitions. I'm obliged to you, sir.